Hey everybody. Hey, how you doing? Welcome to another live on a wonderful Sunday. So, as usual, I like to kind of check on my live to make sure that I did go live in case no one joins us today. So, I'm just going to check in and we'll get started. All right. So, happy Sunday everybody. Happy after Easter or happy after resurrection week per se, I should say. Um as you guys know, over here, sometimes we have problems with the daggone reception. So I got to figure out another platform that is accessible and also free to kind of stream on because I feel like this platform, and I don't know if it's just my Wi-Fi too, it might just be a horrible platform. But anyway, I wanted to create this stream around, if you guys are not currently seeing it, we are having conversations around student loans and those coming back into effect as far as some loan borrowers sliding into the delinquency situation. How would that impact your credit score? Because if you are trying to buy a home or in the process of buying a home, the student loan debt, if you don't know, could possibly your student loans could possibly be in a delinquent stage. And even though you get through the first part of applying for a more home loan, and you are going through the whole process of currently buying a house, when you get through that underwriting process, if your loans have fallen into the delinquent status, you will get through the whole process. Hey, what's going on, David? Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. As I was just explaining, we are going to have a discussion about this whole student loan debt. Let me also know, you guys, I'm trying something different out with the thumbnails. So I know they don't have like a picture of me on it, but I was like, let me try other type of thumbnails. So I'm trying to see if I can utilize some of this AI stuff that everybody's utilizing now in regards to creating different kind of unique thumbnails. So if it doesn't work, just let me know, and I'll go back to trying to create the thumbnails that we had before. But yeah, so want to talk about the student loan debt. We all know the debt in totality, as far as car debt, car loan or auto loans, credit card debt. All these things can impact your possibility of purchasing a house if you're trying to purchase. And then we'll get into a little bit of what's kind of happening in some of the housing market. But we kind of want to touch on this again. I'm gonna start this off by saying, like, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a mortgage lender. We are just reading articles and reading information around how this can impact you, as far as if you're trying to buy a home right now, or if you're looking to buy one in the future. You want to kind of get on the ball and keep these things current, because this current administration is about to take some of us out. And I actually had a client that I was working with recently, and their credit score kind of slid. And I think at the time we didn't really know, but I think this might be the reason why the credit score kind of slipped down. So I'm actually going to reach out to this client and say, hey, you might want to look into this. But let's get on it. If you guys are tuning into the channel, please don't forget to like. And if you would love to subscribe, that would be greatly appreciative as well. And join us every Sunday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, as we go live. And then also let us know where you're tuning in from and how did you get over to this community. So let's kind of dive into this. So the first thing I want to share is a loan officer. I think he's out of Vermont. He was having conversations on his Instagram. His name is Brian Vaughn. I think I'm saying that right. He was having conversation on his Instagram a while back in regards to what some student loan borrowers are currently seeing. He's a mortgage, I believe, a mortgage loan officer per se, or a mortgage advisor, however you guys want to put it. And he was kind of talking about this whole student loan situation. So I am going to let you guys check this out. What David said. He said, I am making all my financial decisions based on your channel. Oh, I hope not. I hope not, David. Some people do actually, they watch different YouTube channels and they watch different, people talk about finances, and even people that are qualified as financial advisors. People, as you do real estate as well, and real estate is a financial decision, right? But some people really do take everything that they hear on the internet and on the TikToks and on the Instagram and everything very, you know, very to heart, and that's how they make their financial decisions. So I always tell people, you can listen to what people are saying, but you have to reassess and make sure it makes sense to you. This is just, you're taking different gems or different nuggets that you're hearing from different people, reassess it and see how does it pertain to your life and how does this create a financial decision for you going forward. Like a lot of people will use like the Dave Ramsey method, all these different methods, right? But sometimes that might not be the best method for you. So any type of information you take from different YouTubers, as far as that are in the financial sector, whether it be housing, cars, anything that makes a financial decision, money wise, you should definitely, definitely not base it on our soul conversations, but reevaluate it. So yes, David. So we're gonna hope and pray nobody is, but we know people do nowadays take a lot to heart of what people are chatting about on these things. But let's jump into Brian and hear what he's saying about student loans, and then we'll jump into the article as well.
So this is rapidly becoming a crisis, and it is preventing people from being able to buy homes. So if you have student loans or you know somebody who does, please, please, please listen to this. So you probably know that during the pandemic, all student loans were automatically placed in forbearance. But you might not know that then what happened is from September 2023 to September 2024, there was this on-ramp period. And that period of time was designed to let people ease back into making their student loan payments. And so if they even missed a payment during that time period, then it still wouldn't get reported to the credit bureau. Here's where the problems start, though. As of October 2024, any late payments at all for student loans are now automatically being reported as 90-day lates. So what we're seeing a ton of folks whose contact info isn't right with their student loan servicer, or they just never got contacted. They don't even know who their servicer is now. So they're missing their payments. And when they do, it's reported as it's 90-day late, and their scores are dropping by like 150, 200 points all in one go. We're seeing this drop people's credit scores down below the minimum qualifying thresholds to qualify for a mortgage. But aside from that, it just makes it harder to get any kind of consumer credit, and it makes your interest rates go up. So please share this video with somebody who needs to know this about their student loans. If you have them, go check in with your servicer. Even if you think that everything's good, check in, make sure that your payments are scheduled, you're paying the right person, that your plan is all set up so you can make sure that this doesn't happen to you.
So that is crazy of how many points your student loan can affect you in regards to your credit, and especially if you're trying to purchase. What David said, he said, I used the realtor method. He said, he makes a good point. I never thought about that. Yes, so this is something this is the reason why I want to talk about it. One, if you guys don't know, I did go to college myself. I too have student loan debt. I actually did not know. I don't know if my student loans are delinquent or not. I did see a negative impact on my student loans. I mean, on my credit just recently. Like I always tell people, I'm very transparent about, myself and what goes on or whatever, because hopefully this information can help you guys as well. But I did see an impact on my credit score. I actually got an email sent to me, and it said my credit score was impacted, and it dropped negative 40 points. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? So those, like he was saying, those student loans that we had, that they were paused and they were kind of put into forbearance. A lot of them, even though I had signed up myself for that save plan situation that they had put in place, because even though I'm in real estate, you guys, I don't close a deal every month. I work with clients, and currently I have 2 listings on the market. And it takes months, and especially in this time, in this era, what's going on as far as, the housing market being a little bit unaffordable for typical Gen Zers, millennials, things are not really moving. So it takes time to actually possibly see a paycheck, depending on what you do, right, as far as your career. And because of that, you can't pay things right on time or a timely fashion. So as human beings, we get behind on things. And it's not that we want to, it's just that as life moves on, things happen that kind of, I don't want to say forces us, but kind of ends up making us a little late or deferred. But needless to say, I'm getting off topic. The student loan situation, it is a very touchy thing that we as people got to be mindful of. Because if you are in the process of trying to buy a home, or if you are currently have a pre-approval from a lender and you have yet to get through the stage of the underwriting stage, this can come up. Actually at the end part, that this recent drop of your credit because of your student loans have hit your credit, and you're trying to buy a house after this. They go through underwriting, and that could possibly affect you from buying that house. David said, he said, you are in a tough market hanging there. Yes, it's a tough market down here in Georgia. We are in a decline. I tell people I'm not trying to be negative because it's not being negative. I just try to be realistic. We are seeing a softening down here. We are seeing an adjustment in prices, and some sellers are scared to admit it, but we are seeing a softening down here because of so much new construction, and the new construction is still building. We're seeing builders down here give incentives, 3.8% interest rate buy downs. We're seeing $20,000 in closing cost incentives. Like, they're trying to unload inventory, and because the market is kind of structuring and trying to balance out down here, and the inflation of how people risen the prices, and a lot of it had to do to the corporate companies down here buying in bulk. Because of that, we're seeing a different a turn in things down here. So I'm telling people, like you said, David, we got to hang in there. This is a tougher market. But I definitely want to warn people about these student loans, because this is something that I believe hit one of my current clients, and he had texted me, and he was like, my credit score went from a 7 to like a low, like into the 5s, and he said he had this massive drop of points, and I believe it has to do with his student loans. Hey, what's going on, Sam? So I appreciate you guys, you and David, for tuning in and watching, and anybody else that's going to join us today, please don't be scared to come in a conversation. We love to have chat here, see what's going on. Let us know what's happening on your end. Let's get into this next article in regards to student loans, and if my screen doesn't freeze, and how they're kind of saying the drop again. Talking about this drop in credit score, right? And again, how this can impact you if you are trying to buy a house. Or in any reality, right? Even if you're not trying to buy a house, if you're trying to possibly buy a car, if you're trying to even rent an apartment, because renting an apartment is still under, housing, and it's still under the part in which you what is it called? As far as shelter. Sorry, you guys, don't mind if I keep touching my ear. The other day I went to cut my hair and I actually sliced my earlobe. So yeah, a piece of my earlobe is dang near gone. It's like, yay, wake up to your earlobe being cut off. But well, not then wake up, but that's what happened. So it says right here, late student loan bills can drop credit scores by up to 171 points, Federal Reserve warns. It says the more than 9 million student loan borrowers who are estimated to be late on their payments could experience significant drops in their credit scores during the first half of 2025, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York warns. Some people with a student loan delinquency could see their scores fall by as much as 171 points, the Fed writes in a March 26 report. Credit scores, which impact people's ability and costs to borrow, typically range from 300 to 850, with around 670 and higher considered good. The expected drop was highest for borrowers who start with the best scores. Among those scores under 620, the reported new delinquency could lead to an average of 87-point decline. He said, although some of these borrowers may be able to cure delinquencies, the Fed writes the damage of their credit standing will have already been done and will remain on their credit reports for 7 years. 7 years, you guys. So we want to try to get ahead of this as we can. It says it's been a long time since federal student loan borrowers have needed to worry about the consequences of missed payments, which can also include the garnishment of wages and retirement benefits. That's because collection activity was suspended during the pandemic for a while. That relief period officially expired on September 30th, 2024. So let's see what David said. David said, great topic. There will be many millennials caught off guard with this. Exactly, David. And that's a reason why I wanted to talk about this. A lot of people are talking about it on TikTok, right? There's a lot of Gen Zers, even millennials, that are saying, I borrowed loans, and I'm not paying them back. A lot of it is too expensive to pay back. I'm not saying that when people borrow things, they shouldn't pay it back, because we all know that's how it works, right? You borrow, you should pay your stuff back, right? However, one thing I'm going to continuously say, and I know people probably might not like this, and they might say, well, you already knew this before you borrow it. It's just, I feel like the interest is a little predatory. I feel like it's a little too high of an interest. Like, say if you're borrowing, let's just say $100,000, and then your interest is $75,000. Why is the interest so high? So the average American that is paying back their student loan debt, it's like, how can I effectively pay off this money to be able to possibly purchase a house, right? And we know when you purchase a house, you're going into another financial situation in regards to occurring some debt, right? Um, However, you kind of see that debt up front as far as when you get to the closing table, you kind of see where that debt could possibly be at. But you don't see it really when you, well, I don't know, did I see it when I borrowed my loans? I don't think they showed me the debt when I borrowed my loans. And typically when you're going into college to do student to get, a degree as a student, you just, they tell you the interest rate per se, and then you just sign on a dotted line. You're like 17 years old, you might be 16 if possible, 18, and you're signing on this dotted line and you're just like, okay, I'm going to college. Our parents, if people were raised in a now people are texting me. If people were raised in a household where their parents told them like, hey, I think it's best for you to go to college. You should go to college. You should get a degree, right? Most people, that's how their family kind of raised them, right? Like, go to school, get a degree, get a job, per se, a career, live a successful life, buy a house, have a family. The picket fence, the car, the job, the kids. However, the way in which things are kind of turning now, it's not the same time frame. So like when my dad went to school back in the day, his loan, maybe I'm just going to make up a number, I might be wrong. If he's on here, he'll let me know. I don't think he's on here because he's usually with chat. But when my dad went to school back in the day, his maybe his student loans would say, let's say for the whole time he went to school for the 4 years, maybe might have not totaled more than $5,000. And I know he had said that a lot of his loans were paid back due to the I think he said every year when he did his taxes, he would just pay it through that or whatever. And so a $5,000 debt is nothing compared to now where people are amassing hundred thousands and thousands of debt. So it gets a little harder to pay off. So I just want people to be aware of this, what's happening. As student loan delinquencies appear on credit reports again this year, borrowers are likely to face a cascade of financial consequences, said Doug Boneperth, a certified financial planner and the founder and president of Bonfi Wealth in New York. This credit score penalty restricts their access to affordable finance and locking them into a cycle of elevated borrowing costs and fewer opportunities to rebuild their financial ability. And that's another thing too, right? If you have a lower credit score, they do look at you as a higher risk per se. So when you're a higher risk, they then add on astronomical interest rates per se to because they look at you like, okay, you're a high risk per se, right? You have a lower credit score, which means that you're not a borrower that typically might not pay back the money in which you borrow. So in order for them to feel like they can get money back, or at least half of what you borrow back from you, in which you borrow from them, sorry, they kind of make a higher credit score so then they can kind of get more of it back up front per se, right? Than in the long run. So this is going to put people in that situation as well. And again, you guys, I'm not a financial advisor. So please talk to your financial advisor as well. I'm a realtor that's looking at this in a different context per se, especially if someone is looking to buy a house or in the process of even pre-approved currently in their home shopping. You need to call your student loan borrower and have a conversation to make sure your payments are not considered defaulted or delinquent right now, because if they are, even if you got pre-approved already to home shop at a certain credit score, by the time you get to the underwriting process and they reevaluate everything in full and actually dig into everything, that new credit score will show up and you will not be able to purchase a house. So this is the purpose of me doing this live tonight. I know I don't have many people in here watching tonight, but I'm telling you, this is a topic that you need to literally sit down and you need to reevaluate, especially if you're trying to buy a house, or and I would say at this moment, it's the people that are in the process of buying a house. If you're currently buying a house, please, please, please call your student loan provider and check on your student loans and make sure your loans do not fall into a delinquent status, because like the article stated, there has been the last almost 5 years per se that we as student loan borrowers have not been paying per se your loans, or they've been in forbearance, or they've been kind of not forgiven, but like set on the sideline. So it's just that you guys just want to be very aware, because this is something that's happening right now, and it's prevalent, and it will mess you up in your process if you are trying to buy a house. It says student loan borrowers struggling to make their payments have options to stay on track and protect their credit. Consumer Advocate says, for one, finding an affordable repayment plan. Of course, you can do that as well. You can do the income-driven repayment plan. Borrowers can do that. The Education Department recently reopened the IDR plan applications. Borrowers can also apply for a number of deferments or forbearances. So you want to look into that. Call your loan provider. And then there's a multitude of a million other things you can do in regards to that. And we're going to skip over to this next thing. If my computer stops buffering, I can actually turn this off. All right, so we'll get out of that. I have to always kind of exit myself out, or if not, we'll be buffering again. So I'm gonna go back to Brian Van, what's his name? Vaughn, and we're gonna check out this other video he made. I know he's probably like, how did I get on this live? I don't know him. I just saw his Instagram video kind of going through. Here we go again, you guys. So bear with me. Let me know if you can still see me. I'm froze on my end. Of course, this is how it goes. When you're trying to talk, this is how it goes, you guys. I don't know why. I need a new computer probably too. You buy these computers. Sorry, you guys. I feel like I'll be going through it.
This right here could mean that you get denied for a mortgage. Now, there's 3 big reasons to be worried about how this all plays out. And I'm going to tell you what you can do to get ahead of this before this gets started on May 5th. You cannot get a mortgage if you are delinquent on any federal debt. That's because the federal government can actually place a lien on your property if you haven't paid back their debt, even if you're under contract on a home right now, because if these things kick in May 5th and the government starts to put your debt in collections, it's going to show up on your credit report when they do a check closer to the closing date on your home. There are 5 million people who are currently delinquent on student loans and about 4 million more who are almost on the verge of being there. And so the fear here that this article talks about is that when that happens, you're going to have the whole system jammed up. You're going to have millions of people calling in at the same time trying to get this rectified, and they're not going to be able to get through. So here's what you need to do to make sure that this doesn't happen to you and it doesn't mess up your home purchase. Contact your student loan servicer before May 5th, before their phone lines start to blow up. Ask them the status of your loan and ask them what your options are based off your specific situation. Depending on your situation and your student loan servicer, you should still have options to be able to go onto a needs-based repayment plan or to have your loans in deferment. If you are currently in default, you do have the ability to go through what's called rehabilitation, which means you have to make 9 payments on time consecutively, and they will pull them out of default. Personally, I think that this is way too much, way too fast, and that we are on the brink of a crisis. But you tell me, what do you think? Is this fair? This right here could...
So I think I think that was all that we have for him talking about the student loan stuff. David said he looks like the lead singer Errol from. He does look like Steven Tyler. I like the song that Steven Tyler did with Pink called "Misery." But yes, he definitely does look like Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. But yes, so what he was stating is what we kind of talked about earlier. Call your student loan provider. Get ahead of it, especially if you're in the process of buying a home right now. I think it's the small things that we don't consider. And even over here on this channel, like we talk the housing market, like we talk about like what's happening, what's going on, and different things like that. But then it's like these small little pockets, right? This little nuances in regards that can possibly mess you up in your process. So I'm hoping, I know there's not many on here tonight, but I'm really hoping that people will watch it back. They'll get some type of context out of this, and maybe it'll they'll be like, oh, let me go and do this. So let's jump over into information around. As you guys know, it's not only just student loans, we also have credit card debt, right? We have Americans, we are heading in the direction of more and more credit card debt. And so then we're going to turn around, we're going to say like how all this kind of ties in with purchasing a home. If you're purchasing a home, and this is what people don't even realize too, even if you're a homeowner too, this kind of goes in tandem with everything, right? If you're a home buyer trying to purchase, if you're a homeowner, because guess what? Some homeowners that bought, they might have bought at a higher interest rate, and they might later on down the line want to refinance. So if you are going to try to refinance later on down the line, if the student loan drops and it messes up your credit score, if your credit card debt messes up your credit score, we're going to talk about a little bit about car repossessions, like all these big, like heavy, what's they called? Big like payment, what they call them again? Jesus, I forget what they call, but when it's a large amount, it's called a certain thing when it comes to I think it's, well, I forget what it's called, but let me not stress on it. But anyway, if you have these big type of loans that carry a lot of weight as far as how much you owe, they can affect your credit score massively. So you just want to be sure that you guys are paying attention to this stuff. And it's not just if you're a home buyer, it's also if you're a homeowner. Because I've talked to a lot of homeowners that might have bought 2 years ago or a year ago, and they ask me every day, did the interest rates go down? Did the interest rates go down because they're trying to refi? But I'm like, if your credit's not good, that's one of the things they take into effect. Refining your credits, the equity in your home, all those different things. So you guys better just make sure everything is together. That's all I'm saying, because this what we're going through right now. It's going to affect us. Like we're going to make it through, but it's going to affect us. And I just want you guys to be ahead of the curve, if possible. It says Americans' credit card debt reaches new record high. New York Federal Reserve. I'm like, man, the New York Federal Reserve is putting it on us. We just talked about student loan debts with the Federal Reserve in New York. Now they're hitting us with the credit card debt. Americans' household debt, including credit cards, mortgages, auto loans, and student loans, is at a new all-time high of $18.04 trillion, according to a report released Thursday by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Overall debt grew by $93 billion in the last 3 months of 2024, and about half of that increase was new credit card debt, according to the report. It says American total credit card balances now stand at a record high of $1.2 trillion, the report said. On a call with reporters Thursday, New York Federal Reserve researchers said credit card debt typically goes up at the end of the year when consumers do their holiday shopping. Researchers said they expect balances will decline at the start of this year as shoppers start to pay down the debt. High interest rates are another factor behind elevated credit card levels, the researchers said. They added that income levels have been going up as debt is increasing, a positive sign for the health of the economy. I don't know about you guys, but my income has not gone up. My income has not gone up. And I know I'm in like a different type of business, but my income hasn't gone up. I know a lot of people get the facade of when you're doing real estate, and I'm not saying it's not true. There are some realtors who live that lifestyle, but I don't live selling sunset in that lifestyle, you guys. I don't live the selling sunset lifestyle. So my income has not gone up. It said delinquencies reflecting missed payments on credit card bills also ticked up in the fourth quarter. The report highlighted higher delinquency rates for auto loans too. Americans hold nearly $1.7 trillion in auto loan debt. New York Federal Reserve researchers said the higher new and used car prices in the wake of the pandemic are key reasons why some Americans are behind on their auto payments. So we all know too, during the pandemic and what happened, and I don't know the full story per se, but I think it was something to do with a chip in some of the cars, and that's what they were kind of highlighting during that time. The chip in the cars were being made, I believe, overseas in China or somewhere, and because of the pandemic, it was a slow type of process to get the chips and the things over here in the cars, and because of that, this was one of the times in which cars actually appreciated. And I think I mentioned this on a live one time. I was in an accident in 2020. Was it 2021, a car accident, or 2022? People keep texting me. And like 2021, 2022, and my car flipped over. I had bought this car, and it was a used car. I had bought it. The girl hit me. She flipped my car, et cetera, et cetera. It was totally total. Had to get a new car. The car, I bought it for like $10,000. Again, I don't live a lavish luxury lifestyle over here, but I bought the car for $10,000, and because of the era we were going through, the car appreciated, and I got when the insurance adjuster, everything came out, they adjusted it for a higher price because of that, the pandemic and appreciation on the used car. So the car was now worth an additional $4,000. So they appreciated it to $14,000 instead of $10,000, and I was able to pay off the rest of the loan per se, and then got the $5,000 back, and I put it towards a new car. However, when I went to buy the new car, a car that shouldn't cost the way it cost, like $17,000, even though it wasn't new, had 60,000 miles on it. I still have the car currently right now. I call it the grandma car. It's a tiny little hatchback looking car. Sorry you guys, I'm not the sports car driver. Can't afford it. but I have like the little car I bought. It's like $17,000. I put the $5,000 down. I just recently was able to, as I'm starting to pay more debt down within last year, I think I jumped on here and told you guys that I was able to pay the car off due to the blessings of me helping a seller sell their home. I took my whole commission check and I paid my car off so I can alleviate a debt. And I'm praying that the car will last me another good 6 years. David said, wow, glad you're okay. That sounds like a very serious accident. Yes, thank you, David. I appreciate it. Yes, the accident was crazy. A young lady hit me as I was coming out Chick-fil-A. I actually drove a friend over to get some Chick-fil-A when we got in the car. I didn't even buy no Chick-fil-A. The young lady she ran through the light, had her headlights off. And as I was making a turn out, because I didn't see her car and because she ran through the light, she hit my car at a substantial fast impact, flipped my car over 3 times, landed on the hood of our car. Me and my friend that was inside the car, luckily we were okay. No damages subsided. But yes, we could have been, as the girl got out the car, she ran over to us and said, oh my God, I thought I killed you. So thank you to the person above or whoever you guys might believe in, that we were okay. But yes, it was very serious, and I'm glad that I'm here. Sam said, Clark, money moves a real time. I appreciate it. I'm just trying to alleviate that. I'm trying to help people too. If you want to alleviate that, and if you are somebody that's looking into home ownership, understand what's going on in the market, understand how can you effectively put yourself in the right position to do so. And even if you are a homeowner and you're trying to refinance or whatever you want to do, depending on where you're at in life, we want to kind of cut some of this debt down because it's getting crazy. As long as you get from point A to point B, yes, exactly. As long as I get from point A to point B, I don't care. I like the car I have now. I'm off topic. Sorry, guys. I'll get back on topic. The car I have now, like I said, I got after the accident. It's a small little hatchback looking little car. And I actually was at one of my offices, and it's a cement pillar. And I went to back out, and I hit the cement pillar, and now I have like a dent on the side of my car now. And everybody's like, oh, you're going to get the dent fixed? Like, no, I'm not getting the dent fixed. People are like, how are you doing real estate and you driving up and people see you with the dent in your car? I'm like, I don't care. I got into real estate to service people, to help people buy houses, to help to educate them properly, to help them buy and sell houses. I didn't get into real estate for me to be out here flashy looking cars. Like I'm okay living a lifestyle where I'm financially debt free. In a good position for myself, and I'm okay when we go through difficult times like we're in now, or because there's ebbs and flows, right? There's ups and downs, and I don't want to put myself in a position where I can't afford to just live my regular old lifestyle. So I'm okay with my dent in my car. I know people said there's ways I could pull it out myself, and I probably will, but that dent has been there probably like the last year. So yeah, probably like not the last year. I'm gonna say probably like the last 6 months. So it is what it is. But anyway, let's get back to it. I know people are like, yo, they probably like, okay, Clark is a crazy person. While mortgage delinquency rates are similar to pre-pandemic levels, auto loan delinquency transition rates remain elevated, said Wilbert van der Klaw, economic research advisor at the New York Federal Reserve. High auto loan delinquency rates are broad-based across credit scores and income levels. So that's what they're talking about. So as you guys know, there is debt in regards to, the credit cards, there's debt in regards to your auto loans. And now we're about to be impacted by delinquencies and debt, of course, with the student loans. So David said, I drove a dented car. Nothing wrong with that. Some people are all hat and no kettle. yeah. I'm like, cattle. I'm like, I'm okay with it. It doesn't bother me. I don't know. I think it's probably just the way I'm raised. Like I'm just raised in the situation. I'm not materialistic driven per se. So I'm here to, like I said, when I got into real estate, my biggest thing really honestly in real estate was to educate people. and in regards to home ownership, like whether you're a buyer or seller. That's the biggest goal. Like I've come from a background prior to as I was in real estate, I used to be an education background. Then I also used to be in entertainment, but in how they all kind of intertwine is that each background I was the researcher, I was a person that was developing stuff, calling people, getting information. So I use all the stuff that I've done in my other careers to kind of embody it in real estate. And I think my bigger purpose, and I always tell people this, the bigger purpose is really to help people. And real estate is a field in which you can help people make, give them information and you can help them make their own informative decisions, right? So that's the biggest goal. So I'm not here to drive flashy Mercedes and this, even though my dream car was an Audi, but when I started seeing how much people pay for these daggone cars, I'm like, I'm okay. I'm good. I don't want no Audi. I'm okay with my little car that's paid off. Okay. I'll be all right. Okay, so let's talk about in regards to should you pay off credit card debt before applying for a mortgage? So let's kind of contextualize this a little bit more. I think I wanted to hold on. Let me see. Can you should I do this one first? No, sorry, let me switch that. I'm sorry, you guys. Let's switch over to let's get rid of that. Sorry, I just want to make sure I have everything on my screen so it doesn't affect the and if anybody's coming in late, because I know a couple people joined and then they kind of got off, but we are talking about student loan debt. So if you're joining us now, scroll back to the beginning, try to hear some information about it, especially if you're in the process of buying a home currently, or even if you are if you're a homeowner, even trying to refinance in the future. You really want to go back and watch this video, and you can skip and pause certain parts you want to, but I suggest that if you haven't kind of dived into this information or looked into it, I really suggest you guys really look into it, because you want to put yourself in a great financial situation to set you up to set you up in a great give you a head start per se, to make sure you are able to do what you want to do, because we all know that our credit scores impact us tremendously. And even people that always say cash is king, yes, we love that cash is king. I still try to make sure I carry some cash on me as well. However, we also know that if you don't have a credit line open per se, that can also affect your credit too. You can have no credit. So that can affect you too, possibly when buying a house. But of course, you want to always talk to a lender, a mortgage lender, get more information around that. Like if you're buying a house for cash, you're okay, right? But if you have some cash and you always use cash, but you don't have enough cash to fully buy a house, you're going to possibly need financing, right? And I know from me just having discussions with people who utilize cash a lot, they don't typically they're not building their credit up, so your credit score is not built. There's no long history lines per se of you interacting as far as paying things back on time. And so your credit score is not as healthy per se as someone else that might have already had a credit line put in effect. So you just want to talk to a mortgage lender or more about that, or a financial advisor, anyone in regards to that. So if you are in the midst of trying to buy a home and you had any credit lines open, if you bought everything cash, but you can't buy this house because maybe the house you want is, let's say, $500,000 or $300,000. I don't know what situation you're in, but you're trying to buy now, and you're like, well, I only have $150,000 cash, and you might have to actually, and the first time in your life, take out a loan per se, right? Some type of financing. You just want to get more insight as far as how that works to kind of make sure you can build your credit score up accordingly. Because if you guys don't know, credit score is one of the components in regards to getting a home loan. Of course, we use your debt. They use your debt to income ratio, all those different things, but credit score is another factor. So it says right here, can you get a mortgage with student loan debt? We all know that you can, right? We know you can get a mortgage with student loan debt. One of the lenders I was talking to, I believe they count, if you have student loans, they do 0.5% of the student loan, the total student loan, to get like the payment of how much it would be per month that they would calculate into your mortgage. Even if it's in deferment, even if you're not currently paying it right now, they do a certain percent. So let's say, let me do a calculator real quick and let's see how much that would be real quick. And again, always talk to a financial advisor, and also your lender. But let's say if your student loans is $50,000 that you owe, that's times that by 0.5%. So it basically would mean that they would calculate $250 a month into your payment when you're trying to get a home loan. So they'll say, okay, even though if you're not currently paying your student loans right now, it's in deferment, it's in the IDR program, the income driven program, and maybe you're paying $10 on it right now, $5 on it right now. They'll say, okay, we know that you're paying this. We know that you're not delinquent. We know that everything is good to go. However, because you do have student loan debt, we have to factor this into it. So we're going to take 0.5% of what your total student loan debt is. And we're going to say, okay, you have $50,000 worth of student loan debt. We're going to say it's going to be about $250 that we'll add in. So if you ever get to the point where you start trying to pay the student loan debts off, or you can't be in deferment no more, or you come out of these payment programs, this is how much your debt could possibly be and what you would have to pay monthly on top of the loan. So they still want to kind of factor those things in. But again, go talk to a mortgage lender, a financial advisor to get the full scope of how it works. But that's a little insight. It says, yes, you can have student loan debts and a mortgage at the same time. Like with any type of loan, your ability to qualify for a home loan depends on your credit score and ability to repay. Simply having student loan debt doesn't necessarily hurt your credit score, which we know it doesn't hurt your credit score. However, we're talking about this because a lot of people don't realize that their loans are sliding into the delinquent stage, and it will hurt your credit score. One of the key factors that lenders look for in the student loans will impact is your debt to income ratio. Having high student loan debt could raise your DTI ratio and make it harder to get a loan. It says you also have a dedicated portion of your monthly income to paying back the student loans, so you'll need to calculate what mortgage payment you can afford. And it says right here, how do student loans impact your DTI? It says student loan debt is often considered in your DTI, which is your debt to income ratio. So it's factored into that. It says a mortgage lenders used to help assess your credit worthiness as a borrower. The ratio is calculated by dividing your monthly debit payments by your monthly gross income, which yields a percentage value that lenders then use to evaluate your ability to repay a mortgage. So this is a way in which they do it as well. So this is how they're saying that they do it. Again, every lender could be different. Every mortgage advisor could be different. So I definitely say reach out to your mortgage advisor and see how would they calculate your loans as far as student loans into that debt to income ratio. Like I said, I talked to one advisor and he said they do about 0.5%, but everyone has their own formula per se, I guess. If you have a car loan, student loan payments, for instance, a mortgage lender will add those to your proposed mortgage payment, then divide the total by your gross monthly income. In general, the result shouldn't exceed 43%, but some lenders look for a lower ratio, 36%, while others might accept up to 50%. So we do know now that some lenders are doing that. Do I say it's smart to be 50% in regards to your payments? No. I would say if you can, there's a rule. I think it's like the 28 something rule, something, but there's a different rule. And I would say if you can, I know it's hard nowadays, right? If you can stay below 30%, I would say try your best with any type of monthly payments on anything, especially larger credit lines like the auto loans, student loans, all that stuff. And even when you get your mortgage, if you can be healthy enough and I know it's hard nowadays because everything is so expensive, but if you can stay underneath that 36%, 30% range, just to put you in a good position, because say if things happen, like you lose your job, say if you're, we know taxes are going up, we know insurance is going up. If you're in an HOA community, if they have a deficit somewhere, they might go up. And because not only that, as things are getting more pricey, if your HOA you have a pool, you have different things in your community, they're going to go up because the people that might clean the pool, they might go up in price as far as how much they charge. So I just say just be mindful of how you kind of lay out those expenses. I know it's hard nowadays. I'm not saying that I'm not judging anybody because of course my expenses exceed 30%. But like I said, I'm trying to slowly pay things down so I get back to where I'm typically at. But I'm saying this kind of puts you in a better position. So when things kind of might go south 1 month or maybe a couple months, you'll still feel comfortable enough to get by, right? Let's assume you're currently making a monthly car loan payment of 350 and a monthly student loan payment of 250, totaling 600 in monthly debt. Imagine your gross monthly income is $4,000. To calculate your DTI, which is your debt to income ratio, divide your total monthly debt payment, $600 by your gross monthly income of 4,000 and multiply it by 100, which gives you a DTI ratio of 15%. This means that 15% of your gross monthly income is devoted to paying off your debts. That's a relatively low DTI ratio, which mortgage lenders prefer. So this is basically just showing you like how you can kind of calculate things and get information. Hey, what's going on, Eddie? Thanks for joining today. He said, hey, Clark, hope all is well. Yes, things are okay. Like I was telling people earlier, I was telling David and Sam earlier, I went to cut my hair this past week and like 2 days ago, and I dagner sliced my earlobe off. So I was like gushing blood. And I'm like, oh my God, I thought I was gonna have to go to the hospital. I was like, oh Lord, I can't afford to go to the hospital. I actually was on my way to an open house. I'm like, oh my God, I can't afford to go to the hospital right now. But he said, how is the gang doing today? I think everybody's doing good. Everybody's doing good. He said, oh no, yeah. Yeah, it's life. Things happen. So I'm okay now. I put a band-aid on it. I go into my brokerage because I didn't have band-aids at my house. And I'm like, oh my God. I said, do you have a band-aid? I said, my ear is like I had compressed, like I had peroxide and some alcohol. I had what's that called? The cotton ball, and I was like squeezing it and like putting pressure on it to kind of put the pressure on it to dry stuff up. And the only band-aids I had at my house is like these big square, like big patch band-aids. And I was like, oh Lord. So I just, when I went to my brokerage before open house, but I had to grab some signs from there, and I was like, oh, and I talked to the office manager. She was like, yeah, we have a band-aid. Yeah, so I was looking crazy with a band-aid on my ear. But yeah, so that's a little bit about how to go about your the whole thing as far as calculating different things to kind of put you in a good position again when it comes to if you are in the process of currently trying to buy a home, if you're a homeowner that might want to refinance in the long run, you just want to kind of be on task with those things, the car payments, the credit card payments, different things like that. So, and the last topic real quick before we get off of here, and this is where we're going to slide a little bit into what they're currently saying as far as the housing market. And you guys let me know your thoughts as well. US Today wrote this article in regards to the mortgage rates are still high. It says mortgage rates are still high. The housing market is suffering in turn. And so again, he said, I hate having a car payment. Yes, I was telling David and Sam earlier that I was, I paid my car note off last year in December. Actually, I paid it all off because I was like, I can't have it. And now I just have, those are the three. Well, I have, I guess, 4 debts. Right? I have student loan debt. I have 2 credit cards I need to pay off, and then I have my car note. So I'm slowly but surely moving to try to get things paid off. But yes, if you can alleviate the debt, please, especially if, like I said, if if you're trying to buy a home, if you currently have a home, and if you see, property taxes going up, you see home insurance going up, you see all these factors kind of going up. It's like, please, if you can alleviate some of this debt, you guys, please. David said, make sure we hit the thumbs up for the screen. Yes, please hit the thumbs up. I appreciate you guys. Hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe as well. I would love to get to 1,000 subscribers. I think we're at like 985. Hopefully people don't leave the channel and stay. I mean, not the channel. Is it the channel? I guess, yeah, the YouTube channel. Hopefully they'll stay over here and we'll have more and more wonderful conversations on Sunday as well. But yes, please. Thank you, David. Yes, hit the thumbs up for me, guys. Please. Congrats on paying your car off. Thank you. He said, I had a truck paid off for 7 years and now I have a car payment. Oh man. It's like, so you got the car with the high pandemic prices? Because these daggone high prices are crazy. Says truck finally got to the end of the road. Yeah, that's what I'm saying too. I'm like, I bought this car that I bought because of the pandemic. It was higher, so my it was a used car, but it already came with 60,000 miles on it, which I'm like, oh Lord, this is a lot of miles. But all the other cars that had lower miles, they were so much like they were very expensive. Like this car costed 17,000 that I bought, and everything else that had like say like 20,000 miles or 30,000 miles or less was like 30,000 plus dollars as a used car. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, I'm not buying a used car at that price. At that price, I'm sorry. I'm just not doing it. Like I'm not. I pride myself, and I don't say pride myself, but I try to make sure that I make stuff that's reasonable for me that I can afford, because I'm like I don't want to get caught in the rat race, and when if I want to move or I want to do things, I don't want to feel like I'm stuck because I got so many bills to pay, and that's what I've been kind of feeling like the last couple months too, because I have this credit card that I want to pay off too. I've been feeling like stuck because I'm like it's not a huge debt, but I don't want to put more debt on the credit cards. So I'm like, I don't want to, So I've been just trying to focus on getting all that done. David said, "You are real close to 1,000 subs." Yes, yes, yes. So please, I know I have about like 70%. I think it's like 70% of people watch my channel, but they're not subscribed. So if you're a part of that 70% and you're watching tonight live, please subscribe to my channel, please. Eddie said, "No one is leaving." Yes, please don't leave. Only growth on this channel. Yes, we're gonna speak it into existence. I appreciate that, Eddie. He said, "I bought a Buick because it was 25,000 for 2025." Oh, that's cheap. Wow, that's actually not bad. 25,000 for 2025. I love it. He said, "Pricing on cars is insane." He said, "Will not pay for those. Will not pay those prices." Buick Invista. Okay. Yes, I'm like, that's not bad. It's not too high. 25,000. That's kind of cool. 25,000, 2025. So yeah, we want to buy something that's not so costly, because if you currently are buying a house, you want to have a nice size mortgage. So we want to make sure we keep every other debt low, so then that our only debt will be a housing mortgage. So let's try to alleviate this debt, y'all. I'm not Dave Ramsey, and I know his method, the method that he used a long time ago, might not pertain to what's happening right now in this current market, but you can probably still pull some things out of what he says. Like I listen to his podcast. I don't listen to a lot of things he say because some of it's not relevant to like this time and this current generation and like the Gen Zers and some of the millennials per se. But some of it is good, to kind of alleviate and get you out of debt. But we know that the income, like the job market is not growing, even though the reports keep saying we have a healthy job market. I don't know about you guys personally, but I have friends that are getting laid off. I have friends that have been looking for jobs, cannot find jobs at all. I have people whose income is not keeping up with the inflation, as far as groceries going up now. Trump is in situation, or as people call him, president call him 45 and 47, is in situations as far as the tariffs with China. And so it's so much going on now. So it's creating all this massive uncertainty. And it's just crazy, you guys. It's crazy. So it says mortgage rates are still high. The housing market is suffering in turn. So let's kind of dive into this a little bit, and then we'll see where it takes us, and we'll end our night on this Sunday night. Of course, my screen decides to freeze again. Why wouldn't it freeze? Because it likes to freeze on me. Okay, here we go. All right. So it says rates for home loans remain high as the consumer and investor confidence take a hit amid the White House's tariff rollout, which we were just talking about, the tariffs. In the week ending April 24th, 30-year fixed rate mortgage averaged 6.81%. Freddie Mac announced that's down fractionally from 6.83% last week, which saw the biggest 1 week jump last August. And the crazy thing about it too is that I think like almost a week ago, when it came to the interest rates, I had jumped on and I saw that the interest rates for FHA, if you had a good credit score, great debt to income ratio, all these wonderful factors, and was putting down like a little bit more money and all this stuff, you could possibly get at the time, not no more right now. So don't take this for right now. But I saw that the FHA interest rate had slid down to like 5.95 or something. And that was like a week or so ago. So I was like, wow. But then, of course, within a day, it bounced right back up to like 6.3 or 6.4. So I was like, if somebody was out like home shopping and they had just actually like put a contract in, and if they were able to talk to the lender to like lock a rate, Oh man, you got lucky. Were able to lock in. If you were in that sweet spot right there, and when that happened, you probably was able to get a 5 something interest rate. And like I was saying earlier, there are new constructions down here where I'm at in Atlanta, Georgia metro area. In this Georgia area, there are a lot of home builders building down here, so you can lock in lower interest rates because a lot of these home builders are paying for these rate buy downs, these 30-year fixed rate buy downs. It's a community right up the street from me that are they were buying down interest rates to 3.8%, and or you could do like a four, I think like a 4 or 5%, and they would give you like you could buy it down to the 4 or 5%, and then they would give you 20,000 in like incentives as far as closing costs. So it's interesting. Eddie said, "Bounce, baby, bounce." Yeah, everything's bouncing around. There's so much uncertainty right now that things are bouncing around, and that's what we were talking about earlier, as far as like the student loan debt, like the delinquencies, like sliding into delinquencies, credit scores could take a hit of up to 171 points. So if people are just joining now, and go back to the beginning of the video and listen to this, and make sure you're in a good status with your student loans, because we have been paused for so long that most people probably don't realize that their student loans are actually delinquent and they are starting to affect your credit score. So make sure you are looking at calling that service provider. Make sure your auto loans are intact. Make sure any credit cards are intact. We kind of went through all this like in the earlier part of the stream. Just check on those variables, because if you are in the process of trying to buy a home, if you're currently shopping to buy a home, even if you're a homeowner trying to refinance in the future when rates kind of go back down per se, you just want to make sure all that's in good standing, because like they were saying, as far as even if the student loans mess up your credit, it can be that way for like 7 years. So you want to kind of just look into that. So go back to the beginning of the video if you're just jumping on now. Watch from the video. You can skim through it. You don't have to watch the whole video, but definitely hit those points so you can understand what to do that can help you effectively moving forward in any financial situation. Not even if you're buying a house, because if you're renting an apartment nowadays, down here, if you're renting an apartment or renting houses, when I try to help people here and there, I don't help a lot of people with rentals. So I'm sorry, you guys, I don't help a lot of people with rentals. But when I actually right now only currently help past clients that I helped rent places before. I still help them out if they're trying to relocate and rent again. But because of that, there's even with rentals, like you have to have a certain credit score. Like down here, maybe like 620, 640, 650. Some of them be like 700. I'm like, 700, and they'd be like 3 times the monthly income. So if the apartment is $2,000, you need to make $6,000 a month. You need to have this. I'm like, well, Dad, for all that, you might as well buy a house. But it's like all these different factors, and because of that, again, the purpose of making this live and this video of talking about student loans and all this stuff is so people can understand that if you are even in the process, even if you're renting an apartment, a house, and you're thinking about moving to another house or another apartment to rent again, if your student loans fall into delinquency status, your credit score will go down. That will impact you, and you won't even be able to rent again. So just be mindful, you guys. Be very, very mindful. Eddie says student loans are a scam. I feel like they're a scam too, but to each his own. I have them myself. I talk to my dad about this all the time. My dad, he'll say like, "Oh, I feel so bad that I made you go to college," because I actually didn't want to go to college. I had no mind. My mind was not set to go to college. I didn't care how many college shows came out when I was in the era in which there were so many shows on TV talking about college and school and all this stuff. Don't get me wrong. I love school. I love education. But I love to actually educate myself outside of school, because I feel like that's where the most of your education will come from. It's not in school, it'll be outside of school. How much do you want to take on and get more massive knowledge to make sure you understand more things per se. So and it might begin in school, but I also believe it begins at home as well. And it begins in yourself. So so I didn't have this whole brain thing where I wanted to go to college. I just ended up going to college because my dad's like, you need to go to college. So, and now we talk about it all the time. He's like, I'm so sorry I made you go to college. Because he don't have no student loan debt. Like, he went to college, like I said, back when he went to college, his debt might have only accrued $5,000 for the whole 4 years he was there. He paid it off every time he got his income tax check, and in 5 years or 6 years, his college debt was gone. Nowadays, a student can't even afford. You go to college, a daggone college is there with like $20,000 a daggone year to go, or $20,000 a semester. You come out of college, $100,000, $200,000 in debt, and it's like, okay, these jobs don't even pay enough for you to be able to effectively pay this debt off in a timely manner. And then all of a sudden, you get in a situation where it's like, oh, dad, how can I afford to do other stuff because I gotta pay the student loan debt? How can I afford to actually buy a house? How can I afford to buy a car? How can I afford to live a typical lifestyle of a young American trying to grow with so much debt out of school? So yeah, don't let me get on a rampage because I'll get on a whole rampage about this topic. Thank you, David. I appreciate it. He said, great stream tonight. Have a great week, Clark. Thank you, David. Have a wonderful week as well. I appreciate you coming on and joining me. I truly appreciate it. And thank you for the super chat. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Eddie said, the banks and schools have too many people, their credit and future. Exactly. They have so much power, and like the banks and the schools and your future, your credit. It's crazy. I actually did and I'm gonna hurry up and get off of here because we're at an hour now. I actually did a documentary back when I was actually in college because I just wanted to measure up the difference between someone that went to school that had student loans and somebody that did not have student loans that went to college. And it's very fascinating the difference between someone that has them and somebody that doesn't have student loan debt, and how also the student loan debt might put you in a good position too as far as having debt, because America is all about you having good debt. You have good debt, and then when you can't pay it, it's bad debt. And so the student loans is considered good debt. However, once you delinquent, you go down drastically in your credit score. And then also with the person that didn't have student loan debt, that came to college on a scholarship, didn't pay anything per se, didn't have no student loan debt, didn't really have any credit per se, that just to do a typical thing as far as like getting an apartment and turning the lights on or whatever, they made this particular person pay more money up front because they didn't have credit, because they didn't have no credit lines or no student loan debt or whatever. So I don't know. I don't want to say America is a scam, but because I love America, don't get me wrong, this is a wonderful country. I love the people in this country. I love how it creates, a mixture of folks being able to survive and thrive in this country. But sometimes I'm like, this country is a scam. It's a scam. But let's get into this last part. So it says that's down fractionally from that. It says those figures don't include fees or points. Rates in some parts of the country may be higher or lower than the national average. That's another thing too in regards to like the points and everything. So I'm telling people too, if you're a buyer and you're going to go to a lender and you're asking for them to pre-approve you for a certain loan, and they're trying, and it's because what I realize is that some people go to these lenders to say, how can I get an interest rate of, let's just say interest rates now are, let's say 7%. They're like, how can I get an interest rate at a 5? And the lender might be like, well, let me see. And they might go and calculate different things up. And if there's a lender that's joining this live tonight, put whatever you might say to a buyer inside the live chat, or maybe, inside the comments below. But this is how I kind of seen it done before, where the lender will be like, okay, let me see if I can get you that. And then they'll go through all your financials, blah, blah, blah. And they might be like, okay, this is how close I can get you to that according to what we have in line. And let's say you were 7% and they say they can get you a 6% interest rate. And most people don't realize that there are some of these lenders, what they'll do is that they put the cost, and they call them points. You're paying to buy the points down. And so you're like, oh, I got this good interest rate. But in reality, you don't realize that you're paying for it on the back end. It's called points. So I would say just make sure you're mindful of that. Try to see if you can get a par rate with no points included, and see what that par rate would be in regards to your home loan or your pre-approval per se, and see what that par rate will be with no points attached. And see that, and then go from there. And if you have to buy points because you want that lower interest rate, then you have that conversation with the lender and say, how much would it look like to possibly buy my rate down? How much would a point cost to buy down? And of course, again, like I said, they'll take numerous things into factor, but you want to kind of just want to make sure you know where you're starting at, and you don't want to just jump in, because like I said, some people go to these lenders and like, I'm trying to get an interest rate of this, and then you don't realize that you're paying for that. So you want to know what's going on, understand what you're paying for, and different things. It says rates in the high 6% range seem to be suppressing demand for homes. Application for mortgages has slumped in each of the past 2 weeks, according to data from Mortgage Bankers Association. The notable drop in mortgage applications last week was the result of 30 base point jump in the mortgage rates over the last 2 weeks, driven by the ongoing financial market volatility and economic uncertainty, which we all know. But the tariffs coming into play with all this stuff happening, there is uncertainty. Hey, what's going on, Dad? I'm like, we're about to end the live, so you guys are coming in a little late, but I do appreciate you guys. It says NBA president and CEO Bob Brooks-Smith said in a release, with rates now close to 7%, many potential borrowers will likely stay on the sidelines until they have a better idea of the direction that rates in the economy are headed. So that's just a little information in regards to that. We're not going to read the rest. We all know, well, I guess we can read this a little bit right here, but we all know that the rates are high, right? The rates are currently high. They're fluctuating in the 6s per se, going to the 7s, different things like that. We know that the home affordability prices are high as well. The affordability of buying homes are high. It says on April 24th, National Association of Realtors reported that sales previously owned homes catered in March. The annual pace of sales during the month, 4.02 million was lower than the full year totality of 2024, which marked the worst year for sales since 1995. So we kind of like heard all this before, so I don't want to get back into it, but we know that the sales are down depending on where you're at. We know that prices are depending on where you're at too. Again, this is all local. Real estate is local to your state, to your county, to your city. But we also know that sales are down in some states, in some counties, in some cities. We know inventory has now kind of boosted a little bit depending on where you're at. And we also know that homes are sitting longer on the market. There's sitting some of them are sitting between 60 to 90 days. Typically, is that really long in the real estate market? Not really. But because people were so used to how quickly things were flying off the market during the pandemic, now people are going crazy because their house is sitting on the market for 60 to 90 days. That's not a long time, you guys. Typical real estate and typical markets on a more balanced market might sit around those time frames. But we, you know, it became like fast food. We were so quick to get it and go, that now people are like freaking out. Like home sellers, like I'm like, even sellers I'm working with, they're like, well, my house is sitting long. And I'm like, well, it's only been 20 days. And it's not trying to like, you know, tell people that it needs to sit, but I'm telling people like, it's okay. The market's going to do what the market's going to do. All we can do is what we can do. We can effectively price it right? According to the market. We can do our open houses. We can advertise it accordingly. We can try to hit the certain demographic that we believe that it kind of caters to. Of course, it's open to everybody to be able to buy it. However, let's see which person might want to kind of have more interest in it, right? So we can do all those things that we're doing, but at the end of the day, you know, the market is going to determine how the house sells, when the house sells, and who's going to buy it, right? So yeah. But nonetheless, you guys, I appreciate you for joining me on this Sunday night. He said, what? And he said, the ports are starting to see a slowdown. The ports are starting to see a slowdown in business. Okay, so the ports are seeing it. So you're talking about like the fishermen, as far as collecting the getting like stuff from the overseas. The ports are seeing a slowdown. Well, that's going to be crazy too. David said, thanks again. Thank you, David. That's going to be crazy too. The ports are seeing a slowdown. So we're seeing a slowdown everywhere. The economy is shifting. He said shipping ports. Okay, yep. So, excuse me. So the economy is shifting, you guys. So we just got to be mindful of what's happening, what's going on, and how do we effectively put ourselves on the right track going forward, whether it be, like we stated earlier in the beginning of this video, around student loans. Check into your student loan debt. Make sure your debts are not sliding into delinquency. Check on auto debts. Check on credit card debts. If you're trying to buy a home right now, make sure you're in a good standing. If you're currently shopping for a home, make sure you're going to stand in. If you're a homeowner that wants to possibly refinance in the future, make sure you are in a good standing there. And just look and be aware of what's happening in the economy. Like Eddie said here, the shipping ports, he said they're seeing a slowdown as well, which means that you know, that could be a possible problem. And it means, and from my perspective, I might be wrong, or my opinion, I should say, that might cause inflation in any goods that are in certain stores, or because of the slowdown in the ports, the supply and the demand factor again, right? So you just want to be mindful of what's happening around us, you guys. Make sure you're in a good financial situation. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I am not a mortgagor. I am not a counselor with finances. However, I'm, you know, thinking about how I kind of look at my finances, talk about with you guys, and hopefully it'll help you bring a perspective to where you should be at when it comes to your finances. All right, have a wonderful Sunday night. I will see you guys next Sunday. Also, let me know too. I tried a different type of thumbnail situation. I wanted to create like an AI generated thumbnail. So if you think that's a good way to go with my thumbnails, let me know. I'll try it again on other videos. If not, I'll go back to making my own thumbnails. But I will talk to you guys next Sunday. Have a wonderful Sunday night. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.